What's going on, guys? It's your boy KRYPTONIAN saying here, and today we're going to be going into another Chainsaw Man video, and this is going to be a bit longer than usual because today we're going to be discussing Fiends in Chainsaw Man, and we're going to break down what a Fiend is, who the major Fiends in the Chainsaw Man story are, what their powers are, and where it's appropriate, we're going to talk about their origin stories. So what exactly is a Fiend in Chainsaw Man? So the microwave definition is to say that they're a devil who's taken over the body of a human, i.e. a human corpse. However, let's dive a little bit deeper into this. So human corpses that get taken over by a devil typically happens because it's a last resort for a devil to survive, and it's for a really good reason. It's not something that a devil does because there's a pretty huge trade-off for doing this. They lose a good amount of their powers and the ability to make contracts when they become fiends, which, to understand why devil contracts are so important, you'll want to be on the lookout for my video on devils in Chainsaw Man. One of the easiest ways to spot a fiend is to look for the changes to the head of the body. In the case of Power, arguably the best character in Chainsaw Man, by the way, you know she's a fiend because she's got horns, and in the case of Beam from the Tokyo Special Division 4, you know he's a fiend because he's got a shark's head. When a devil possesses a human corpse, the other thing that you often see is that the devil's personality comes through as a dominant in the body of the fiend, but there are times where the original corpse's personality breaks through to the surface. If this does happen, then the devil's personality can be outright suppressed, but it's worth noting the main example of this is really when it comes to the violence fiend. So now that you know what exactly a fiend is, and you can call yourself an expert per se, let's dive a little bit deeper beneath the surface and look at the major fiends in Chainsaw Man. You've got my personal favorite fiend, Power, who has the power of the Blood Devil. You've got the Gun Fiend, who has the power of the Gun Devil. You have Cosmo, who has the power of the Cosmos Devil. You have Long, Pingsti, and you have Tsugihagi, who have powers of unknown devils. And then you have the Violence Devil, and you have Beam, who has the power of the Shark Devil. Now, Power's abilities are some of my personal favorite because she has the power of blood manipulation, which allows her to create weapons from, you guessed it, her own blood. However, here's the thing, she's not limited to just her own blood. She can also manipulate the blood of others if she touches them, and when she mixes in her own blood into the target's body, if they have overpowered abilities like regen abilities that basically make them physically immortal to the point where attacks that should kill them don't actually kill them, Power can actually mess up that ability when it comes to using regen, and it's because of how her blood ability works. We've seen Power make hammers with her blood that are used to crush her enemy, and she's also made blood spears to stab her enemy. This ability is really pretty damn clever when you see it used in one of the ways that Power does so. Like, Power can come off as being someone who lives in the moment totally, but she's actually really clever. When she placed her blood in a bottle and littered them around the area to use as a trap, and she made spears shoot out of the bottles, that was one of the more jaw-dropping moments in the series. Power also has the blood transfer ability, which allows her to, you guessed it, transfer her blood and her life force to somebody, which in turn heals the damage done to their body. The 1000 Terra blood rain can be used when Power goes into her full devil form, which is basically Power taking 1000 spears and swords out of her blood and then having them float all around her in the air and then rocket them off at her enemy, which is one of the most chilling panels that we get in the entire manga. That's some straight Magneto stuff that jump Power up my list in terms when it comes to characters. Now, Power can also drink the blood of others, which is really important because consuming blood is how she, number one, like all fiends, restores her own health. Though after she drinks too much blood, we see Power has multiple horns on her head. The more blood that she drinks, especially from a stronger devil, the more powerful she's going to get. And we've seen that there's a pretty clear power amp when she drank too much blood. At one point, her stats were boosted enough that she outright resisted Makima's control power. For Power, her backstory is one that makes you appreciate her character more because it does a complete 180. Whereas she comes off as being selfish, we learn that her love for Meowie, her pet cat, shows that she has a side of her that allows her to care for others. When the Bat Devil held Meowie hostage, we see Power change up pretty quickly, crossing lines that showed her desperation to free a cat, at one point going as far as to betray Denji in the process, but it shows beneath all those moments of trolling and selfishness, beneath all of that, this powerhouse has a bit of a human soft spot that makes her a very compelling character for you as a reader. Now, moving on to Beam, he's the Shark Fiend, and he's a pretty big fan of the Chainsaw Man character to the point where he's willing to support Denji regardless of the situation, even when Denji is wrong. Beam knows that Denji is wrong about something, he'll still go along with it. If you think about that expression, if your friends jump off of a cliff, would you be willing to do that too? Beam will jump off the cliff with his friends. Now, Beam's powers are kind of busted when you look at him. He's able to become intangible to the point where he can swim through solid objects, passing through walls and doors without absolutely any issues, though he isn't able to take anybody with him. He's insanely durable to the point where he's taking point-blank explosions back to back. Like Power, when he drinks blood, he's able to restore his health, which only happens if he manages to get injured. His shark transformation gives him extreme biting power, and the shark transformation has multiple eyes. The fully transformed version changes his body into the complete shark devil. Now, the Violence Fiend works as a public safety devil hunter in Tokyo Special Division 4. Now, when you look at the name, the Violence Fiend, it probably makes you think that this is somebody who is going to want all the smoke at all times. But the problem here is that this isn't the case. This ain't a character that is on demon time. As mentioned earlier, there are times where the corpse's original personality ends up maintaining control, which is going to be the case here. The Violence Devil, by nature, is, you guessed it, violent. But the Violence Fiend doesn't seek out violence. He's polite and he even apologizes after he has to throw hands with somebody. He loves peace and he actually remembers his former life as a human, which isn't supposed to be the case for a fiend. However, you're probably wondering about the powers of the Violence Fiend. So, Violence has the ability to shapeshift. He's enlarged his limbs to gain muscle mass and increase his striking power. Like all fiends, he can drink blood to restore his health. He wears a poison dispensing mask in order to keep his power in check, because even for a fiend, the guy's got incredible raw strength, especially when he shapeshifts the makeup of his body to increase the muscle mass of a body part to increase his power and destructive output. Next, we have another personal favorite of mine, which is going to be the Cosmos Fiend. So, Cosmos' power are those of true understanding. Now, Cosmo can make our target understand everything in the universe, and this is so overpowered right here. Think of it like being imparted with knowledge from every single book in the world that's ever been written, on top of being forced to know every single verbal story that's been passed down before mankind ever knew how to write words. It's an information overload, which leads to the person being into a catonic state where the only thing that they can think about is Halloween until they pass out and die, and the only word that they can utter is Halloween. Like other fiends, Cosmo, if need be, can drink blood to restore health. Now, the Gun Fiend is going to be a little bit tricky, but that's only going to be because of the circumstances of how we actually got here. So, Aki Hayakawa became the Gun Fiend in one of the later arcs in the story. Hayakawa was already somebody pretty damn strong and fast in his own right, but when he becomes the Gun Fiend, he's able to shoot bullets from his limbs and from his head, and it essentially makes him a killing machine for the Gun Devil. Hayakawa has a M19 sticking out of his face between his eyes and the gun hammer at the back of his head. His forearms are M16, both shown with a semi-automatic and a 3-round burst weapon of fire. Now, Pingsti is a fiend that has the power of contract perception, which allows her to know the contract that the devil has with a human, which she does by transforming her ponytail into a device and looking through it. This power of hers allows her to see the sacrifices that are going to be required by the contract, and it's going to also see sacrifices that are required to use the devil's abilities. Like all fiends, she can drink blood to restore health. Long is another fiend, but unlike the others, our powers are pretty damn basic. It's basically the ability to breathe fire. That's it. Basically, if she was a Naruto character, she'd be somebody really skilled at using fire release. However, like all fiends, she can also drink blood to heal her injuries, and this is where I do want to be serious for a second. So if we want to dive a little bit deeper, given her name is Long, it could be likely that the fiend that she is patterned after is actually a dragon fiend, given that dragons and fire are connected when you look into some of the folklore, and you have the Asian dragon Long, which makes sense given that Long is from China, so this is likely going to be the case here. So Tsugihagi is another fiend, but here's the catch. There's literally nothing to explain. Like, there is literally nothing that we know about her powers. Even when the story shifts to being in hell, you think this might be the one moment where we learn more about her powers, except we don't learn anything. However, that's going to be it for all the major fiends in part 1 of Chainsaw Man. Up next, we're likely going to be covering every devil in Chainsaw Man, so be on the lookout for that. If you have a topic that you want me to discuss, leave it in the comment section below, and if I like it enough, I'll turn it into a video. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.